Great.
Hello and welcome back to Family Tech, where you get to be the tech expert of your home. And today I'm actually really excited. I mean, I think I say I'm really excited about my guests like every week, so it's losing its but today I am talking to the head of law enforcement outreach at Snap. So we're talking Snapchat today, people. And this is Rachel Hockhauser, and I'm hoping I said your name
You got
correctly.
it. You got it. Hi,
Perfect.
everybody. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with this company called Snapchat.
Yeah, sure. So as we were just saying right before we joined, I hail from New York City, and I was a prosecutor in New York, and also for a period of time in The Hague. But altogether about 20 years. And I spent a lot of time prosecuting crimes against children and investigating crimes against children. Safety in general, and also safety of younger people. So has always been like at the core of my work, my whole life, very mission driven. And I was really lucky to find a home amongst people who had, the same feeling and the same dedication to that mission on our safety operations team at Snapchat. So that's in encapsulating my whole life into about 2 minutes. That's been my journey. So I'm the head of law enforcement outreach at Snap. And I also work within our safety operations teams as a strategic advisor. So really trying to bring in the information that we get from law enforcement, from parents, from educators, from all of those really important communities, and bring it back into the company and make sure that we're responding to it.
That's awesome. So if you have any questions at all for Rachel during this, I've got some really hard-hitting questions for her too. So make sure you get those in the comments and we will definitely address those. So the first one I've got, and we're going to start right off the bat, hitting hard on Rachel today. So
Yep.
I know you're up for the task.
Getting nervous. Yeah.
Yeah. So Snapchat appears in the news a lot for being a problematic platform for teens. So what are some of the things that Snapchat is doing to help protect teens?
Yeah. So actually, thank you for asking that question. Let me say first that Snapchat is a product that was designed for people people 13 and over to connect with real friends, people that they actually know in real life. And it's designed, so it's really designed in a lot of ways in order to minimize being connected with or being contacted by people that you don't know, people that we don't want contacting teens, right? Strangers. And so there's a lot of things that we do in the architecture of Snapchat itself, so of the product, in order to make that the case, right? So we don't have, for example, public friends lists, right? You can't see who teenagers who are using Snapchat, you can't see who they're friends with. And we make it hard to connect with people who you don't actually have some connection to already. So either common friends or are in your address book. We just rolled out a series of protections specifically for our teen users in September, including things like, an interstitial that pops up. So if you're getting that sort of suspicious friend request from somebody that you don't have those connections to, there's now a prompt that will basically say, honestly, I don't have the actual words, but it basically says like, hey, are you sure you want to be connected to this person? And so, we also have very strict, stringent privacy settings that are set to private, set off by default. For example, our geolocation sharing, a lot of people use the Snap Map, but you have to opt in to use the Snap Map. So you have to turn it on, and it's set off by default, and you can control within it who sees your location and who doesn't. It's not like if you turn it on, you turn it on for everybody. And I know I'm going to suspect that we're going to talk about this a little bit more later, but also I think it was about 18 months ago, we also rolled out our family center, which is our parent, where our parent controls live. And so it's a way for parents to get on the app and connect with their kids' accounts and really have insight into how their kids are spending time on the app. And then, finally, I'll say one of the really important things about protecting teens online and on Snapchat is educating their parents and the grownups in their lives, not just educating them, but like empowering them, giving them tools and knowledge to help them make the decisions for their family that are best, and have those conversations with their kids. And so we just started a microsite called, and you saw me just glance because sometimes I reverse the words. It's parents.snapchat.com. So I'm going to say it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, parents.snapchat.com. And on that site, we have videos that are available that explain the app.
That's actually good.
I know.
I'm 44. Whenever I get on Snapchat, I'm like, I'm too old to be here. I don't get it.
You are not too old to be there, but I feel you. I mean, I'm 50, and before I joined Snapchat, I had an account because I liked to put, the filters on my kids' faces, but I had never sent anybody a message because my peers weren't on it. Yeah. And so what we found, not just from my own personal experience, but, from speaking to people like you and other family, other parents and educators, members of law enforcement also, that they don't have familiarity with the application. So on our parents microsite, we've just launched sort of a YouTube explainer series to familiarize the important adults in teens' lives with the app, so they can see where their kids are spending time, understand it. And of course, if that's not just because we want you in the app, it's because in order to talk to your kids about what dangers they have to be aware of and alert to, you have to understand the environment that you're talking about. Right. So there's videos about the app itself, videos about what dangers there might be. So what to be on the alert for, and just the goal is to empower adults and parents to really be able to have those conversations so that they can make the best choice for their families and participate with their teens in those choices.
Yeah, I always say be where your teen is sharing. And I think that's so important to be on the same platform. You don't have to interact with your teen on the platform, but just be there and understand what's going on for sure. So that's great. That's a great resource. Parents.snapchat.com. Definitely check that out, people.
And you can get the family center through it also.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah. So the family center, that's actually one of my most viewed videos, is just a really quick short on how to set up the family pairing for or I guess family. I'm like, what do you guys call it? Like, it's called pairing in TikTok. But
how to pair your account with
yeah. So I mean, so you do have to have your own Snapchat account to manage or monitor your child's Snapchat account. So again, get yourself an account. It might be scary. You don't have to snap your friends all the time, but
I will say though, even though to participate in Family Center, you do need your own account. But if you wanted to report a problem to us, you don't need an account to report a problem to us. You can go to our safety center and report an account online as well. And so there's multiple ways in to talk to us and communicate with us, even if you're not on the app.
Got it. That's very good to know. So we kind of just touched on this already, and this is my next question. Like, a lot of parents are not aware of these controls. So, what are you trying to do to try and get that word out, about parents.snapchat.com? Because that's a great resource, but if parents don't even know about it, what are you trying to do to get that out there?
Yeah, so great question. One thing is like, hi, I'm here talking to
Hello,
you.
family tech
Yes,
viewers.
hello, family tech. You know, and obviously it's not just me out here doing it. We have a lot of team members who are out here taking these kinds of opportunities to talk to parents where they are,
Yeah.
and also educators. And we've also been working with school resource officers because we
Awesome.
understand, and the National Association of School Resource Officers, because those are the adults, whether it's school safety, parents, educators, those are the adults that we want to be giving these tools to and making aware. So we're out kind of evangelizing these resources wherever we can.
Yeah, that's great. Something interesting, and maybe you guys have thought of this too, and maybe you guys have done something like this too, but I got a mailer from TikTok about like the parental controls in TikTok, and I was like, oh, interesting that they would like send me a little like
Yeah.
pamphlet in the mail. So maybe something like that too might
Yeah,
be good. Just
it's a great idea. I mean, to your point, where we're constantly thinking of ways and talking about other ways to reach people, and not just to let them know about what we have, like to let them know about Family Center, let them know about parents.snapchat.com. We did have like a big kind of press. We were talking to a lot of members of the press to try to get it out. Also, we have a safety and impact blog, but also we're out there because we want the input from those
right.
communities, right? We also want to
Yeah.
know what your experience is, because it helps us to do better. And our work is never done, right? We all know that it's not like we roll it out and then we're like, all right, we're done, we're done here. It's it's the beginning, and then we start iterating on it and trying to improve it and always talking and thinking about it. So I'm gonna talk to the team about a mailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was shocked, and it wasn't just because of like, of who I am. Like literally my entire neighborhood got this mailer from TikTok, and I'm like, "Oh, this is like super interesting." And it was like a few pages just like how to set up the parental controls in TikTok, and you're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
great."
well, it goes to what we were just talking about, right? About meeting people where they are. So
Yeah.
if the parents are at their mailbox and
Right.
not not online. Yeah.
I mean, hopefully I don't get a lot of mail anymore, so it's like, "Oh, look. Something new."
Unique. Yeah.
Right.
A piece of paper.
Yeah, strange. Strange that people would be mailing me things.
Yeah.
So like even with these controls, and you said you're talking to people, trying to figure out what else you can do. Like, what else do you think is kind of on the horizon? I mean, what you can talk about for improvements to the parent center and all of that. Is there things that you're doing to like in the future to keep kids safer?
Yeah. So as I said, we just rolled out a number of things in September. We're continuing to improve, like on Family Center. We just rolled out increased content controls for a safer or more bespoke content experience for teens. And I know we're looking at this right now. We're very, very focused also on talking about and thinking about age verification and what we can do there. And it's honestly a never ending process. And so in addition to some of the other recent improvements that I just talked about, we're always talking about how to improve the product itself, and also how to get out in the world and make sure that people understand what we're doing. Because fundamentally, as I think it's sort of where I started, we want people on Snapchat, and in particularly young people on Snapchat, to be able to communicate in a safe, fun way with one another.
Yeah.
And we want it to be a hostile environment for bad actors. We don't want, we want it to be a safe, fun place. That's why we made Snapchat.
Right.
And we also work, when we do a lot of work also with law enforcement and with the authorities to support investigations when bad things do happen.
Yeah. A couple of I mean, this is totally unrelated to like kids, but like with law enforcement and criminal behavior, I follow a lot of court cases. Like I'm obsessed with like the court process. So I was watching the Murdaugh trial, and one of the like key pieces of evidence in the Murdaugh trial was actually a Snapchat that that Paul
Yeah.
had sent. So so just super interesting how, you know, people think like these are disappearing messages and things like that, but you know, when it comes down to it, like if you're going to do criminal behavior, that's probably still not the best platform to be using because
Yeah.
it's going to come out. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was one of our team members, Heidi, who testified in.
I watched that whole testimony.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell her in the Murdaugh trial, and it's a great example actually.
Yeah.
And obviously that the crime had nothing to do with Snapchat,
Right?
So it was evidence in the trial, and it's a great example and a great lesson for all the parents who are listening right now to talk to your kids about. And you could even use it as an example that there isn't, you know, this idea of anonymity online, or I could, you know, everything just disappears. You know, there's like, we have a law enforcement operations team and a safety operations team. We are constantly getting requests from law enforcement to preserve data connected to investigations, and we're doing that on a routine basis.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they send legal process afterwards, and we provide data. And so there's while some data does delete by default, this idea that that it's all just disappearing and you can act with impunity is not true.
Right. Good. I mean, I know you get that, but like that's definitely one thing I'm like trying to instill in like children and other people, like, hey, you know, you might think that there's this like anonymous and, you know, private behavior, but you know, nothing you do online is private. So
Right. There's all kinds of circumstances in which we're preserving and providing data, you know, pursuant to legal process. And then also, actually, we do also do it voluntarily without legal process where there's an imminent threat to human life. And we see a lot of situations, you know, related to the sort of teenagers and their settings. So that we disclose data on those situations. So things like juveniles who have gone missing, you know, teens who have gone missing, or threats to schools, threats of self-harm, things like that, where we're proactively escalating or escalating data to law enforcement to assist those people, or to warn, or responding to law enforcement requests in an imminent threat to life situation.
Yeah, that's great. One of the big problems that I see, and I see this constantly, of children who are underage joining the platform, and this is with their parents' consent. Like,
Yes.
you know, the parent will be saying something, oh, you know, my 11-year-old has Snapchat and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, why does your 11-year-old have Snapchat? So like the parent completely knows about it and is allowing their children under the age of 13 to join the platform. Is there anything you guys are doing to try like inform parents about this, or like to actively try and shut these accounts down, or
Yeah,
you know,
so
what are you trying to do?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and one we get asked a lot, because sort of age verification, or keeping users off of platforms that are not designed for people their age, it's really like an industry-wide challenge. Sure. And so it's a challenge for us as well. And we're working across the industry. We work with a lot of partners to try to figure out solutions. One thing that we do like I can kind of talk about what we do currently, and then we can talk, and then I can mention some other sort of things we're thinking about. But sure. For example, if we find out that an account belongs to somebody under the age of 13, we will delete that account from Snapchat. So it's not our platform. We're saying it, you know, we're saying it loudly. It is designed for people 13 and up. So when we find out about accounts that are being used or belong to people under that age, we will delete them from the platform. We also have certain sort of gating mechanisms in place to prevent people from changing their dates of birth. in order, so, if a teenager signs up with their true age and then wants to change it later to make themselves older, we have mechanisms on the back end to prevent that kind of changing of or falsification of your date of your birth date just by changing it.
Right.
So yeah, and then the other thing I would say to parents who are doing it, with the knowledge, who are assisting your kids in doing it, is that we do have a lot of protections built in for our younger users. And if you assist your child also in signing up with a false age, they may not get those protections. So a lot of the increased vigilance that we have around making sure that younger users are not contacted, the steps we have in place specific to younger users having a safer contact experience, you don't get it if you sign up as a 45-year-old.
Yeah.
and so that's important for parents to think about when they're talking to their kids about signing up. So it's my recommendation would always be to make sure that if you're signing up for Snapchat with your child, that you make sure they're putting in their true age, and also that you decide together on an appropriate username, one that doesn't indicate that they're 14, and one that doesn't convey something to the world that you as a parent don't want your 14-year-old conveying to the world.
Yeah, like any personal identifiable information, definitely leave that out of the username for sure. Yeah, that's great. So speaking about age verification, and I'm not a fan of age verification. So I know that's like a real rock and a hard place for platforms like yourself, like where I'm against children under the age of 13 joining the platform, but I also don't want to verify my age on the platform. So it's it's a very hard place to be in. But there's laws coming out that again I'm not a fan of. So especially like I'm in Utah, and Utah passed a social media law that has a lot of age verification components to it, with other restrictions. Like, what are your thoughts on these laws for social media platforms?
Yeah, so without commenting on any specific legislation in particular, I can't do better than you did in talking in nailing down or exposing kind of what's hard, right, about these conversations. And there's, we're doing some work on the back end that I've talked about to kind of detect or age gate. But in terms of actual age verification, like one of the options that we talk about internally, which seems like it could be a good option, is doing it at the operating system level, right? So it's within the app store or at the device level, so that whatever age verification process happens there, and all the apps then get the same information, and it's done automatically, and it's not piecemeal. And
I actually love that.
I'm okay. Yeah. Maybe we've solved it all right here.
Right. We just did it. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So there's a lot of conversation in the industry about it. That's one, option. And so I think what I can really say, which is maybe not all that satisfying, is that everybody's very focused on it now, and we certainly are as well on the conversations.
Yeah. Do you think that Snap is going to respond to any of these? Because I know in Arkansas there was a conglomerate of like Meta and everyone that got a federal judge to kind of delay the start of one of these laws. But do you think there will be pushback from Snapchat in particular, or would you probably join Annette?
I don't know. I can't really talk about sort of pending.
What? Come on.
Yeah, I know. Pending. I was in my former life, as I've told you.
Right.
So I'm gonna I'm just going to say I can't comment on any, potential litigation or pending litigation or anything like that.
Totally makes sense. I will say, and I mean, I'm sure your lawyers have already like pinpointed this too. I dug through the Utah law like extensively and like, marked the whole thing up. And all the like, there was a lot of exceptions of like what is considered a social media platform that would like be subject to these rules. And most of them, I was like, well, this excludes Snapchat, this excludes Instagram, this excludes Pinterest. Like,
Yeah.
really, all of the ones that they would probably be the most concerned about could be excluded based on like their exclusions. The one
Yeah.
that caught my eye with Snapchat was that the primary function is communication between two people, which I think the Snapchat definitely falls under. But
Yeah, I'm not an expert on the laws, and I'm not even on our legal team. So I don't want to step anywhere
So
near
you're
kind of
yeah.
even agreeing with you or disagreeing with you about your interpretation of
Yeah.
the law. I will say, I guess just as sort of a big picture point of view on a lot of these laws about or proposed laws or things that are happening in the states about online safety and online protection of children, that we're certainly talking to people who are engaged in that work at a company level, and I think that there's support for the idea, especially of some federal response, like a well thought out, well crafted federal response, so that so that there's not 50 states with 50 different regulations and laws, and that's certainly a complexity. But again, I mean, that's a very general statement, and I think it's as much as I can probably say. Yeah.
Like, and that's it. I can't say anymore. So let's get out of the less comfortable area then. Kids really have a false sense of privacy, and we talked about this a bit. Are you doing anything to help them understand that, like, even though it says like it's been screenshot, which is great, if you screenshot a Snapchat, it'll say like, oh, your Snapchat has been screenshot. But obviously there's other ways to record. I've got like a zillion devices here. I can record something from another device. So is there anything you guys are doing to kind of help kids understand that nothing's actually really private?
Yeah, so we did like the it is important to understand that we did build Snapchat as like a privacy focused company application, and there's a lot of really great reasons for that, like the architecture of Snapchat, the idea that things delete by default after a period of time. And by the way, it's a period of time that can be also modified by the user and choice. You can save things as well. But the reason for that is because it's built to mimic real life interactions, right? And so so that there's not usually, I was about to say in this conversation, but maybe we are being recorded in this. We are,
we are. It's gonna be lit.
Yeah. But like if you and I were having this conversation over coffee in a coffee shop, there's not going to be like a long-term record of it. This idea that kids go off to college with 20 years of, or not 20 years, but 6 years of, I don't know, they're like 60, but they go off to college with 5 years of scrollable comments and material and photographs and everything kind of trailing them and all of this data. So that's not, that's kind of not our model, right? So we're trying to not have the pressure to build kind of followings and likes and the perfectionism and all of that. So I just want to point out there's also like a sort of a purposeful intention behind the delete by default model that is thoughtful. But like I said before, we're providing data daily to members of law enforcement who are, they're asking for us to preserve the data, and we're preserving it. They're giving us legal process that requires us to disclose it, and we're disclosing it, in accordance with valid legal process. And there are a lot of instances, and I don't want to get too like in the weeds here, but there's a lot of instances in which we're maintaining this various kinds of data on the platform. So this idea, again, that that there's impunity or anonymity for bad actions or exploitation of Snapchat to do bad things, or to do things that are against our terms of service, our community guidelines. And our community guidelines are out there on, they're on our website. Take a look. That's a false, that's a false assumption.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But is there any because kids might not understand that. So is there any active thing to help kids see that, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it online. We go out into the community talking about it. I think I think a lot of our users know the ways also in which data is being saved. Like, not everybody, it's not all just, a lot of people are saving their data in their application as they're using it.
Sure.
Especially the prolific users of the app. And there's messaging also, we're clear in the application when something is being saved.
Right.
So users can see it, not only take the app, they can see it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I'm just throwing this out there, but maybe some sort of pop up when they first, occasionally, because Instagram, you can set up a thing where, hey, you've been on here too long, or TikTok, you can, set up time limits and stuff like that. Whereas Snapchat, I don't think it's necessarily a thing where you're getting sucked into and you're, hanging out there all the time. But, just a little notice, hey, just, even though these disappear, don't think that it can't get out there, or something like that. Just a little, because I mean, I'm a parent, I'm an active parent. I make sure my kids understand that, but I don't think there's a lot of parents that do, and so there's, you're around my age, the whole 3-way phone call back when we were,
Yes, adding somebody surreptitiously to your phone call.
Right. So it's not just about sextortion or anything like that, but hey, did you see what so and so said about you? And they've recorded it from another phone, and then they're like, oh, I thought I was having a private conversation, and so I just think helping kids understand the nature of privacy online, I think could be helpful,
Right. And trying to deliver it to them where they are. I mean,
right.
Yeah, no, it's a good suggestion.
Thanks. But speaking of suggestions, let's talk about streaks.
Okay.
So one thing that makes Snapchat super addictive for teens is streaks. And I know teens that will give their Snapchat password to a friend when they get grounded, or, they're going on vacation and they're not going to have access, just to keep their streaks alive, because they live and die by these streaks and measure their relationship status by how long their streaks are. So is there anything that Snapchat, I mean, obviously it's a great feature for Snapchat because it keeps people coming back to the platform every day. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on streaks?
Yeah. So my thoughts on streaks are, well, first of all, for anybody who doesn't know, who's watching, streaks.
Thanks, good call.
Streaks are essentially, you get a little emoji on your conversation. So let's say the two of us have a conversation going on Snapchat, just the two of us, a one-on-one conversation. And every time I send a snap, we exchange snaps back and forth. on a daily basis. And that's going to be our streak. And the streak is going to be represented by a little emoji, like a little emoji on our chat, right? Like within our friendship, where our friendship is represented. For one thing, so it's only visible to us, right? So I can't look at your account and see where your streak is with anybody else. And so it is like voluntary, right? Like we don't push it. We don't like push notifications,
okay.
About like, hey, make sure you check in on that streak, right? Which
You're
like I get for Wordle every day. And I'm like, I forgot to do the Wordle,
Or like Duolingo, you're like, you're about to lose your streak. Oh shoot, I need to get on there.
So we're not pushing people toward it. So that's one thing.
Makes sense. That's good.
And we've also, we've taken certain steps like minimizing the size of the emoji to make it sort of less prominent. We've extended the period of time before it expires. So with this, we've taken this feedback and we've done a few things. Like and we've also made it. There's an easy path to restoration of your streak.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and candidly, it's one we keep talking about and thinking about. So, we hear you. The answer is yes. And right.
Yes.
We've done things. Yes, we've done things and we continue to think about it.
Oh yeah, that's great. And I like to tell parents too, like this is something that is important to your kids, like if it's important to your kids. And so when they are grounded, I would like, okay, I'll open Snapchat on my phone, so you can like, keep your streaks alive and then close it out, so you don't have to be completely, take it all away and take away something that's important to your kid when they've grounded. And I mean, sure, don't let them, hang out on Snapchat more, but come on, you can keep your streak alive and then, be done with it for the day. But,
I mean, as a fellow parent, my response to that is similar to what I said in the beginning, which is the purpose of all of this for us is to help you understand what the app is doing, what that feature is, what the feature is, so that you can make whatever decision is right for your kid, where they are developmentally, how they socialize, what's important to them. And that's consistent with your family's values, right? So I'm not going to weigh in. Family tech, you can weigh in on whether you keep your kid's streak going or not. I'm not going to weigh in. I'm just going to say what we want. It really is for you to understand it so that you can make the decision that's right for your kid about how to manage it responsibly.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So since your job is related to law enforcement, and we've already kind of touched on this a little bit, but what is Snapchat doing like specifically to work with law enforcement to get some of the criminal activity off the platform? Because I know I've heard of, people selling drugs on Snapchat and, trafficking images that have been sent. So what are you guys trying to do?
So we do a few things. One is we detect, we have proactive detection, right, of content, right, public content. So we're looking in the public content for for things like drugs, and we're pulling it down.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one thing. We also encourage within the application, both on our website, within the application, and messages within the application, we really encourage our community to report to us when they see something bad. Right. Yeah. And then we action those reports consistent with our policies and our community guidelines. But it's really important that people report. Not just block. Block is also great, right? You have a bad interaction, block the person who's sending that bad thing your way, but also report. Reporting is really important because what it lets us do is prevent that person from going, from going to the next person, right? From
Yeah.
going to whoever their next potential person is. So, we do, and that messaging is built into the application also. And then we also try to make it really easy to report bad actors, right? So, and then we're actioning those reports. So it's proactive. We're doing it proactively. We're doing it reactively to get the bad act, to identify and get bad actors off the platform, whether it's in the drug space, whether it's in some kind of child exploitation space. We also, I think this is obvious, but we also report bad actors in the child sexual exploitation space to the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, and we work closely with them. And then, on the other side, we, as I've said, and this is something I keep mentioning it, maybe because I could talk about it all day, as a former, member of law enforcement myself, we have a very robust and productive relationship with law enforcement, so that when something does occur, we're able to provide this support as for their investigations in a way that's appropriate. So and we do other things to communicate with the law enforcement community, because they I was about to say suffer. I don't know if suffer is the right word, but they have some of the same challenges that other adults of our age have in not understanding or not being familiar with the application. And so we do a lot of work also on outreach to get out there and educate them about how they can get data from us, how they can communicate with us, what data we might have that would be relevant to them. In December, we're having our third annual virtual law enforcement summit, where last year, I think, with 3,000 members of law enforcement that attended to watch that presentation. So that's a big long answer, because it's something I like to talk about.
Well, no, and I love that. And one thing I didn't send to you that I just kind of thought of as we were talking is one of the big problems a lot of parents have with Snapchat is really the inability to monitor what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know in the family center, you can see who your kid is talking to. You can see how much they're talking to, individual, okay, they talk to these people the most, or, whatever. And who those people are. But what I would love to see is more and I don't need to see every snap. I don't need to have access to all of that. But if there's some sort of content warnings, if I have a kid that's under family center, and they take an inappropriate picture of themselves and send that, something that flags in the system, hey, this was inappropriate, or whatever. I think that would be really helpful for parents to be a little bit more on board with Snapchat. If I know that, if they do something that's inappropriate, I will get flagged or notified of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, for those listeners who don't know sort of the structure of our family center, the way that our family center works is that it gives you, and this is based on a lot of research that we did with teens, with parents, about what they would both be willing to engage in, right? So in order to use Family Center, the teen has to agree, the teen whose account it is has to agree, and the parent has to agree. And then they basically agree to connect their accounts. So some of this is also about what parents said that they wanted, and what teens are willing, to engage in with their parents without circumventing their parent. Right.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so what it does is the model is, and when I was young, I've already told everybody how old I am. I don't know why, since I turned 50, I do that all. I'm like, well, I'm 50. So
I love getting older. It's fine. I'm I'm 44. I feel like it gives me some sort of street cred.
Gravitas. I don't know.
Exactly.
Probably not tell everybody all the time how old I am. But anyway, so But when I was young, we had, a single phone line in our house and it was connected to the wall and I was allowed to use it. And I would take it in my room on the long phone line and I would talk to people. And
Yep.
my parents were not picking up like picking up the phone in to that same line in the other room and listening to my conversations.
Correct.
But I'm telling you, and I know for a fact, they were certainly looking at the phone bills to see who I was talking to and when I was talking to them, right? And how often I was talking to people. So they were keeping their eye on it and understanding who I was engaging with, even if they weren't like listening in on the conversations. And that's the model of our family center, right?
Sure.
So it's empowering parents, giving you the tools to have the conversations that you want to have, to look at that friend who's at the top of the list in family center and go, hey, I don't recognize this screen name, Susie Blank or whatever,
Right.
who is that?
How do you know them?
Yeah. How do you know them? Are they a friend from school? Whatever it is. And so that's the model.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like that part of it. That's just what I'm saying. Like, if they're like, because when I had my phone stretched, to Kingdom Come into my bedroom, I couldn't take naked pictures of myself and send them to you. So like I said, just like, if they've agreed to the family center and we're connected, some sort of flag that something inappropriate happened, I think would and like I said, I don't care about your snaps. I don't want to see like every single snap, but I would like to be notified if you have, taken a naked picture of yourself and sent it to somebody,
Yeah. And I certainly understand that.
Yeah.
And it also, there's, as I'm saying, for all of these things,
Sure.
right? There's like the sort of technical capabilities that we need to have in order to do something like that. And then and then the policy piece of it. And they're all, they're good ideas that we talk about.
Sure.
And consider and have to consider also from the technical perspective.
Yeah. And I also don't even need to see the snap. Like, just flag me that something inappropriate happened.
Yeah.
I think would be great because I
And
really don't want to see it.
Right. And obviously a conversation that every parent listening here should be, I just said I wasn't going to tell parents what to say to their kids, but, should at least think about saying, having that conversation with their kids about not sending photographs of themselves that we used to call it the New York Times test, but if they wouldn't want it on the cover of the New York Times, not to be sharing it.
Yeah. And back to like our earlier conversation, like I feel like on Snapchat it just gives them that false sense of privacy where they're like, oh, it's just gonna delete, in 24 hours, but they don't really know that, like once they send it, it's out there,
Yeah, and it's certainly again not a Snapchat. This one's not a Snapchat specific.
No, for sure. Like they could send a text with the same thing.
Yeah, just as easily.
Exactly.
So
yeah, for sure.
It's also a real opportunity for education.
Yeah.
For our kids who are just way more comfortable online than those of us who lived in a universe where there was no online.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was even Apple iMessage will like blur out something that they've found that's inappropriate, and you have to kind of opt into that. I think.
Yeah. I mean, there are things like that. There are options that we certainly like consider and continue to talk about.
Yeah, that's awesome. So is there anything else you wanted parents to know about Snapchat, the initiatives? Definitely go visit parents.snapchat.com. I think that's an awesome resource that
I'm trying to think. Parents.snapchat.com, family center, go where your kids are. That's what
That's
my own personal one. Go where your kids are, spend some time like understanding where they are, both so where they're spending time and why, not only so that you can talk to them about the, about the warning signs like of a stranger approaching, or if if something bad were to happen, but also so you can see like why they're spending time on there, like what's fun
Right.
about it, right? They like it. So it would be great to understand why for both of those reasons. And yeah, I think I don't know. Did I hit everything? Is there
I
anything
think
anybody else
so.
wants to know?
Yeah, no, we do have a couple comments here, so I'll pull this one up. Yes, our kids, even though they have been taught, do not believe that the dangers, etc., apply to them. Their friends certainly don't. We
Yeah.
need to be able to monitor to help them. Agree, not every snap. Like, totally agree with that one. And then on Instagram over here, we got, I can't pull it up, but happy to stumble on this chat because my kids are begging for Snapchat. So I think that's
Hope they're 13 or over. That's my
right. As
yeah.
long as they're
13
13
or
or
over,
over.
sign up for Family Center. That's
Yeah,
it.
and one of
Help
my
us. Yeah.
right. One of my best friends recently sent me a Marco Polo, was like, "Hey, so her daughter, Jay, I'll just call her Jay, it wants to get Snapchat. What were your thoughts on this? Because I'm in IT. She worked with me at the 18. The comment in Instagram said they are 14, so
Oh, good.
fantastic. But she's like, "Hey, Jay wants to get Snapchat. What were we thinking on Snapchat?" And I was like, "Now she's over 13, right? Because if she's under 13, no way." But she was also around. I think she's 13 or 14. And I was just like, "Oh yeah, like, I think it's fine. Just here's some of the warnings, and we've talked about most of them." And I was like, for her specifically, like, I wouldn't be worried about her taking like naked pictures, so you don't need to like hammer that one home. But what I would hammer home is the three-way phone call aspect. Like, if you're going to talk bad about a friend, just know that that can get back to that friend,
Yeah.
so make
And
sure you're not.
the reporting and the blocking and, just sort of how to respond responsibly when there are conversations happening around you that you don't want to be a part of.
Yeah.
If I can finish with like a tiny anecdote
Perfect.
that I
Love
sometimes
it.
tell in this situation, in these conversations, is like my kids, at 6, where I was at work, our caregiver was caught on the train. I live in Manhattan, so I'm probably I'm doing what I tell other people, and I'm giving
Too much personal. I mean, there's only like 5 Rachels in Manhattan,
yeah.
so
So, but I was on the train. I was at work. My caregiver was on the train, and she called me and said, "I'm not going to get to the bus stop on time to pick up the kids." And I said, "Okay." So I couldn't get there on time either. I called a dad who I know picks up his child at the same stop. And I said to him, "Can you please pick up my kids? But I'm just going to tell you they're probably not going to go with you." And
yeah.
he was like, "Oh, don't be ridiculous. They'll come with me. I see them around, whatever." So and then he called me, and it was pouring rain, of course. And then he called me, 10 minutes later, and he said to me, "Can you talk to them? Like, can I put them on FaceTime with you?" And
Yeah.
yeah, and I was super proud of them because they
Yeah.
refused. He was like, "Can I buy you a donut? Look, donuts." They were like,
Red flags,
yeah,
red flags.
red flags were popping up all over the place for them at 6 years old. And that's because, of course, I had told them 1,000 million times that I would never do what I just did, which
Yeah.
was send somebody to pick them up that they weren't expecting, who was going to say,
Right.
like, "Your mom asked me to get you. Can I buy you a donut?" Right. And and it's a funny story, and I am super proud of my kids.
I
But
am awesome. That's awesome.
yeah, it's an awesome story. But it's we're not doing the same thing with our kids in the online space, and a lot of the time that's
Right.
because we're not as comfortable as they are there, and we
Yeah.
don't understand where they're spending their time. Right. And
Mhm.
so we need to, what we at Snap are trying to do is put out these resources, give these tools, give these resources to really empower parents to have those conversations and make those decisions, and do it in the way that they believe is right for their families.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's a perfect thing to end on. I love that anecdote. Well, they're probably not going to go with you, but
Yeah, give it a try. Yeah. I was
you
like,
can,
you're gonna have to FaceTime me. And he was like,
yeah,
no, it'll be fine. I was like, trust me, it's not gonna be
just
fine.
nope, not going to be fine.
Yeah.
But it's important to like you instilled that into them, and we also need to have the same kind of conversations.
Mhm.
For us, it was all the stranger danger. Don't
Mhm.
get in the white van with the like person giving out free puppies. That was
Right.
instilled in us, and we're not kind of passing on that stranger danger to our kids with like the online space. So
Right, and
totally
we're
agree.
doing it also. I don't want to make it seem like it's just education. It's not. Like it's not just that. It's also like tools and resources, and we're doing the proactive detection, and we're doing all of these things within the infrastructure of the application itself in order to make in order to make sure, or not sure, but in order to make contacts real contacts, right?
Right.
And we're continuing to work on it and iterate it, but it's never going to be perfect.
No. Yeah.
And so
That
the perfect piece comes with the addition of conversation and education and awareness.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I'm a huge fan of technology, obviously. I know I've been in IT for over 20 years. And that's one thing I always say too. Like the technology is never going to be perfect. It's never going to completely shield your child from seeing pornography. They're going to see it. No matter how, I have my house like Fort Knox and
Yes.
it's still going to get through, even with all of my technical knowledge. So the technology is never going to be perfect. So yeah, you have to have those conversations and you have to make sure you are understanding what your kids are understanding.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this conversation, I have to say.
Thank you. Me too. I was like, ooh, Snapchat. I'm gonna
Oh no.
yeah. But it was really great. No, I think you guys are doing some really great things. And the one thing that always surprises people that I say, I mean, and not to, bash on Snapchat or anything, but TikTok actually has the best parental controls built in of any social media platform. And anytime I say that, people are always like, "Really? TikTok?" People are so against TikTok and they're against Snapchat, but I'm like, there are things here that can help it
Yeah,
and that
well, I can't speak to TikTok because I'm
yeah.
not on TikTok.
Yeah.
But I will say, I hope, I hope that you learned something, not
Yeah.
you necessarily, because
No,
I
no,
know,
no. Yeah, yeah.
like, I hope that everybody who's listening learned something. I hope
Right.
gave you, at least pointed you to a place to go to learn something, like to answer questions that you have. And I guess to leave you with the idea that there's a lot of people at the company who care about this deeply, and cared about it before we came to Snap. Um, and it's really a cross-functional, like a huge company-wide effort.
Mhm.
It's not just the people in safety ops. It's not just the people with my job in particular. It's in product, it's in legal, it's in policy, it's in engineering. We're focused on making it a safe and happy place, for our users to be.
Yeah.
So, um,
Yeah, that was my point in mentioning TikTok was that like these apps that people are so scared of, like
yes,
Snapchat and TikTok, I'm like, there are things here that you can do to help make it a safer experience.
yes,
So
100%.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, so thank you so much, Rachel.
thank
It was
you.
wonderful. Oh, wait. Would you repeat the name of the parent info? Oh,
Yes.
parents or parent
Parents with an
parents
S
with
dot
an S
snapchat.com.
snapchat.com. So that's the website, parents.snapchat.com. And I will put that in the description of the YouTube video and in the description of the podcast as well. So
Amazing.
yeah, so you definitely check that out. Learn how to use Snapchat down. Like, and that's another thing I always say, like, download it yourself, check it out, make sure you know everything that it can do. So I
Yeah.
really appreciate you guys putting that website together. Like, not just like here's how parents can manage, but this is how to use Snapchat.
Yeah. This is, and we're continuing to add to it. So it's a new microsite. We're continuing to add new functionality and videos into the future. So
Yeah.
check it out. Okay. Thank
Fantastic.
you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Yeah. Have
Appreciate
a
you.
good day, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. Bye.